Welcome to Repum Group's Item 24, where we take you a step beyond the standard FDD. We asked ourselves, why stop at 23 items when some of the most important insights live beyond the page? Here we're breaking down the inner workings of franchising and sharing real-life strategies and stories that drive the industry forward. All right, welcome back to another Item 24 episode. Today we're going to focus on the word culture and what culture brings and the power of culture in any company. So I want to kick off with talking about the generalization of culture in any company. And when you really think about culture, people think of good culture first and foremost. But reality is, when you think about any company out there today, culture is created both negative and positive. So think about this. When you think about some of the greatest companies you can think of that are rooted in great culture, they're usually focusing on their people, their values, and what the company stands for. But the other side of that is there's other cultures that we hear about, toxic cultures in companies. But that is a culture, right? It isn't a great one, but there's cutthroat cultures. There are companies that turn over employees, but that is what they believe in works for them, right? If you don't get on board with exactly what they do, you can move on and get into another company. Where other cultures and companies that value their people and value the longevity of their people, they'll stay in the company longer because the culture is aligned with valuing people and valuing how they get to the next level in the company that they're in today and that they work for. And so I want to really focus on another thing is just a couple of examples. So one of the companies I talk about often, and one of the people that I value as such a great leader, is a gentleman named Howard Schultz. Howard Schultz is the founder and visionary of Starbucks. Most people know Howard Schultz. Everyone knows Starbucks. But he aligns his culture with valuing his people and, most importantly, valuing their perspective and making sure they feel comfortable with voicing their opinion and what they believe is a direction that that company should be going. Obviously, it all stems from leadership. The culture comes from top down, right? If the culture up top is a positive one, it's going to stem down to the employees that are on the front line, right? At the actual locations in the Starbucks example. So all of that is really important, but the most important thing is, as a company and as a leader of a company, if you're out there today and watching this, is you have to create what your culture is from the start. And if you don't align with that and you don't voice that amongst all your employees and all the people that work with you, it's never going to align throughout your whole organization. And so that is a really important piece of this. It's probably the most important thing is to make sure that not only you point out what your vision is and actually put together what that looks like for your culture, but it's also to explain it and consistently be a part of that throughout the organization and make sure that all of your employees are resonating with that. I would say the last piece that's really important is the people you hire, right? If you know your culture and what it is, if you don't hire the people that align with that culture and that vision, you're going to have a problem and you'll create cancers within your own organization because you need people that align with your vision of what that means. And you don't want people that come in there and create problems for what the culture should be if it's a positive one, for example. So we're talking about culture, and let's talk about our culture within the Repum organization a little bit. So a big thing with Repum is I always have a saying that we talk about, which is people, culture, and partnership. Obviously, culture is mixed into the three main things that create what we are today here at Repum, but it starts with people. And one of the things that I value most is our people. I look at every decision that we make as a company and we do as a leadership team that values what our employees are looking to do and what they're looking to advance in within the organization. But the big thing is it has to fit within what we're trying to achieve as a company. And so a big part of our culture is also check your ego at the door. And what I mean by that is we are a team. There's individual accolades like any team you're on, but you have to focus on the goal of the company first and your individual goal second, right? Because if the company wins and we win as a team, you'll win individually. And so culturally, you have to align there. But the other side is respect. It's respecting your employees, respecting their opinion. And I would say that another thing that I value most is I believe that 90% of companies' problems come down to process and come down to communication. And it all stems from leadership. And if those two things are not happening down to everybody that works on the front line or works day to day with our clients, it's really important to say that it's probably a leadership problem. And culturally, you have to align with that, right? And so we understand that. We talk about it all the time at Replum. I would say the final thing is that we really focus on how do we help each other win, coaching each other to get better. And that's a big part of checking your ego at the door. Everyone is going to win if we all win, as I'm going to repeat it again. But most importantly, we have to get better as a team. And the way to get better is to learn from your peers and to make sure that everyone can win together and work together to get the company to win as big as possible.